everybody, welcome to Nexus at Night, your weekly, except for last week for some reason, Vanguard podcast brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/Nexus at Night. But I'm not those people. I'm Atlas.
I'm Matt, and I'm the reason that there was no episode last week.
I'm Root Beer. I was just too lazy to do the episode last week.
Hey, you weren't the only reason there was no episode. Part of it was I was watching Formula One Drive to Survive. So, shout out to my sister Phoebe for turning me on to that show. But
so I heard it's finally here.
Yeah, it's here. It's finally here. D Booster Set 1, Genesis of the Five Greats, has finally been fully revealed, except for like a couple triggers, but who cares?
Yeah, but like on Bushiroad's website, we have the full list already.
Yeah.
So it starts with the cover card, Byrina Valiente.
Oh, he's like getting into it immediately.
Wait, do we want to say something?
I just wanted to say to those who haven't been with us before, we go from the what are the highest rarity called?
The triple R's.
The triple R's down through the double R's, and then any commons or rares that interest us. Okay,
what about
go.
ORRs?
I mean, I think we're all just hoping they won't exist by the next set. So.
I hope so too.
Man, losing games, I can't wait to get knocked out of an event because of an over trigger. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna feel really good about it. All right, so can we jump in now?
Yes.
All right. So the first card is a card I'm super excited about. I'm actually stoked for this card. It's Byrina Valiente, who's definitely not Chrono Jet Dragon. So it is.
Of course not. He's red.
Yeah, it's red, so it can't be.
It's definitely
a great.
Definitely not Victor either. Not
right,
at all.
It's a grade 3 overdress unit, and it can overdress onto Trickstar, or a grade 3 or less unit within the overdress state. So you could basically overdress on your overdressed Byrina. Which is kind of weird, but you could do it. It has a continuous that it gets power plus 5,000 for each of this unit's original dress. So basically, like if you have Byrina on a Trickstar and you overdress this over it, it gets 10k instead of 5.
Yes.
And then auto on rearguard circle. This is really important. When the attack of this unit in the overdress state hits, counterblast 1, discard a card, and stand this unit.
It's totally not Dragonic Overlord either.
So what's great about this card is it's probably 18k, like normally, with Nirvana skills going to be a 28k restander, which is hitting a super nice number, because 28 is guaranteed 2 cards. If you're on the Persona right turn, it's 38k on hit restand, and that's hitting 2 cards past a trigger. So this thing is just super beefy, super strong beater, and they really, really want to guard it the first time. And it can restand if you hit a rear guard.
Which you're probably going to do as like a form of pressure, right? Like you're almost immediately going after rear guards for that reason? Or
depends on how many counterblasts you have.
Yeah.
Correct.
I like that it basically has overlay units, so that's fun. Also, that power buff for each original dress is all the time, right? So that's defensive too?
Yeah, so notice when I said 28k, that was without a booster.
Yeah.
And every single clan has a 10k booster. So
this might make me build Dragon Empire.
Dude, Dragon Empire is sick. I was already in on Dragon Empire before I saw this card, though, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But, yeah, this card is super sick. Really, really, really a big fan. On the other hand... Oh, does anybody have anything to say about Byrina?
I don't know nothing else.
I think you guys covered everything.
Alright, on the other hand, I am much less excited about Heavy Artillery of Duststorm Eugene's. This is
remember when we were positive on this card in his own episode?
Yes.
Well, I'm positive on it in the future. It's a possible stonks card, but right now it is not good. And I'll talk a bit about why. And I hadn't seen all of the rear guards in the set yet, so.
Oh, that's true. At the time, we hadn't seen everything.
So we were hoping that he would get better rear guards, and then he didn't. So it's a grade 3. It's the new grade 3 boss in this set. So it's the BTO1 boss. And it has an act on Vanguard Circle. Once per turn, you can rest 2 of your rear guards, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, retire it, and this unit gets plus 10k. Alright.
Okay.
And then it has an act once per turn. If your opponent's rear guard is retired this turn, if your opponent's rear guard, not when, so it's just a condition that needs to be met, you can Soul Blast 5, look at the same number of cards at the top of your deck as your opponent's open rear guard circle, choose any number of unit cards from among them, and call them to rear guard circle, and put the rest into your soul. So it can call up to 5.
Yes.
But, if your opponent has, 3 open rear guard circles, which I assume will be the point a fair bit of the time, then this is Soul Blast 5, call 3, maybe, which is pretty good rate. And but you have to have retired something that turn. But even like then, it's like a decent rate, assuming the cards you're calling are pretty good. However, it does need a lot of support from the rear guards.
Yes.
And the problem with Eugene is that the rear guard support just isn't there. And I think he can benefit off anyone's rear guard supports though, unless like they specifically mention name. So there could be a point in the future when they print enough random rear guards for other people where he's just pretty good.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't. There's nothing doing.
Yeah. Like columns aren't big enough. You're just not going to make enough pressure and very likely deck yourself out constantly searching 3 to 5 cards off the top of your deck.
I mean, that's assuming you need to. Like, if the rear guards are good enough,
you have to rest 2 to use his retire skill. You're going to need to use his search fairly often.
It depends on how much the opponent is, like, screwing with your board. But, yeah.
Well, no, because you have to rest 2 to activate his retire and get his 10k, which you're probably going to need to mount what little pressure your deck has, especially at the moment. And then, so that's, like, needing to replace those 2 cards already, not to mention, we'll get to it later, but a lot of the support for Eugene retires itself or puts itself into Soul.
Well, into Soul isn't that bad of a cost.
Yeah, but it's still like, losing a card.
Yeah.
Yeah. The point
And,
is, like right now, especially, the deck loses a ton of rear guards, so you have to constantly replace them, which means you're blowing through your deck way faster than anything else.
But guys, what about trigger thing? Yeah, never mind. This seems like a pick it up for 50 cents and keep it in a drawer until it gets good.
Yes. Sounds about right.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Speaking of cards you'll probably keep in your drawer until they get good, Master of Gravity, Borrow Magnus. So grade 3, 13k Persona Ride. Auto skill on Vanguard when this unit attacks, Counterblast 1, perform all of the following according to number of cards in Soul. 5 or more, draw a card. 10 or more, this unit gets 10k and a crit until end of battle. 15 or more, both you and your opponent eat all of your rear guards, and then you poop out 2 of them, and they get plus 10,000 until end of turn.
Matt, did you say something at the beginning there?
Yeah. So what I said was, I was like, you're gonna make some people mad with that one.
Oh.
By calling keep in a drawer until later.
Yeah. I really like this guy, and from what I heard of your testing with Chris, that he's just like you can't really get to 15 reliably.
You can barely get to 10 reliably sometimes.
Oof.
Was that after the grade 3?
Yeah.
The grade 3. That's
yes, because sometimes you just don't find the grade 3.
Oh, unfortunate.
That is awful.
Yeah, from what I've heard from a lot of people is that this card, if it can hit 15, like on grade 3, it's super good. Like you're in probably a winning position, even with the minuses you take getting to 15. But if you miss, it becomes very vanilla, or like very hard to get there. Like being at 10 is okay, but you really need the 15 proc to make it worthwhile.
Yeah,
because like, people will rush you down. Once they see you're playing Borrow, they're gonna attack the shit out of you.
Yep, and like 10 is the bare minimum for the deck to even function. So if you're just really unlucky and you ride a grade 3 with like 9 soul, you are so screwed.
Yeah, because like counterblasting for just a draw is like not worth it. Unless you have some way to either like refund it or continue the combos, but having just be like on attack, counterblast 1, draw a card. I'm doing stuff. You're not doing stuff.
Yeah.
I will definitely pick this up and hang on to it because it's about as close to Pale Moon as I can get in D series. So.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm probably picking it up too because I like Dark Irregulars, but yeah, I think Borrow Magnus is just barely on the edge of playable right now. I don't think it's consistent enough to be considered good.
I was already building Bruce from the start, so.
Which, speaking of, Diablos Boys Eden, who's a grade 2 continuous rearguard circle. If you are in Final Rush, it gets 5,000 power, and if it stands this turn by a card effect, it gets critical +1.
Oh,
and then auto rearguard circle, when this unit's attack hits, counterblast 1, retire 1 of your opponent's rearguards.
I declare Final Rush!
So, man, I like this card gains a crit for no reason. It's pretty good.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, this card's pretty nutty. I don't think we need to say much more, right?
Like,
you're probably just beating
the only
your
thing is
opponent
that,
with, what's up?
if you're not in Persona Ride, it's only 15k, which can be a little small. So that's like the only thing about it.
But if you're Final Rush and Persona Ride, you're 15, but like with the AK booster, you're still 23, which is pretty bad, but whatever.
Yeah, that's the only thing about this card is the numbers are kind of small, but I think you can work with it. I think the crit pressure, especially because Bruce is a slower deck, the crit pressure is very important. I think this card is overall very good. And if your opponent actually lets it hit, you can, like, counterblast 1, retire something. It's not like you care about counterblast that much anyways.
Yeah, and the Bruce can mulligan pretty decently for the Persona Ride, so it's not like... like you're not looking for too many like certain pieces. You're looking for a couple here and there, like enough grade 2s and whatever.
So,
but like,
so you just kind of like find it. Put your hand back and hope for the 3, because there's no like miswriting anymore. So
right. And if you're you draw your over trigger as usual, and then.
Yeah. And thankfully, there are enough cards that you can just dump Brother Soul in the garbage where it belongs.
No, that's in the Borrow Magnus deck.
Right, of course.
Oh, never mind. You said that already.
Okay.
All right, I need to stop pooping on Borrow Magnus. The deck's actually okay. It's not as bad as some of the other decks. And
it'll probably
turn
turn out all right.
It's certainly
the next time my turn comes around, I will have a long one.
All right. So it's my turn again.
Yes.
Yes.
Cardinal Deus Orphist. Boy. So this is the new grade 3 boss for Brandgate. So not the prison one. It has a continuous on Van or Rear. During your turn, if your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, it gets +5k, so it becomes an 18k. And then an act on Van, if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, you can counterblast 2, call up to 3 Shadow Army tokens to Rearguard Circle. So they're tokens at 15k power and boost. So basically, if you put one behind Vanguard, you've made a 33k column for no reason. And to get the Abyssal Dark Knight, you have to kind of group together all these world cards that all require like a Soul Blast or something of the sort to activate. And they like either draw a card or retire something. They're mostly uninteresting, in the sense that they just do a small thing and then sit there.
Yeah. This deck is like surprisingly bad.
Yeah, like if needing 2 CV to like be interesting and then like still not even be like super consistent.
Yeah.
Feels awful.
Like the thing you said about the worlds where you like play them and then they just kind of sit there. That's kind of how I feel about Orphist as a whole right now. Like you have the 3 Shadow Army, you can probably make pretty okay columns with them. And then what? You just have these 15k boosters, but
it's just not very dynamic.
You're not like restanding anything. You're not gaining any crits or guard restrict. You have no way to win. You just have very big columns.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this deck either. It seemed kind of cool to start, and now now that I've like done some stuff, it's not great.
Uh-huh.
Not a
And also, like, you're not even 100% guaranteed of having very big columns. You could end up stuck at 25.
Oh, the best. 25 is
Yeah,
a good number, guarded by a trigger.
Rip.
So yeah, this deck is just like surprisingly bad. I would rank it pretty low right now, honestly.
Yeah, it's down there with like your Eugene. Like it's above Eugene for sure.
Yeah.
It's above Magnolia probably.
Debatable.
You can at least fight over a trigger.
Yeah.
But like, yikes! It is quite not good. And any comments, Atlas?
I think if once again, it's just like the set is split between your TD bosses and your new bosses that you're introducing. It's just kind of how it is at the beginning of any new like era. Everything just kind of feels like a pilot episode of a deck. Like they haven't quite figured everything out yet. They introduce some stuff that maybe they're not going to keep, but for now they're like, fuck it, let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting to see just how which decks have like better TD bosses or like better new bosses, because the TD bosses have to be pretty sufficiently bad in order for the new bosses to be better. I think because you technically have like a set and a half of support for each of the TD bosses.
Yes.
Or you have one set of support for all the new bosses,
which really bums me out about Magnolia.
yeah, and some of them Magnolia managed to be worse. Even so.
Don't hurt me more than you already have.
Alrighty, so the next card is Aurora Battle Princess Aguilar Rouge. Not Rogue, as I almost said. Which has it's a grade 2 10k triple R, and this is for the prison archetype, and it has a continuous on rear guard and guard circle. So if two or more of your opponent's cards are imprisoned in your prison, this unit gets power plus 5,000 and shield plus 10,000. You know, this could say power plus 5,000 and it would be the same card.
Why do you say that?
But anyway.
Because the
I'll talk
opponent...
about it after when I discuss this in a second.
Okay.
So auto, when this unit is placed on rear guard circle, you can soul blast 1, choose one of your opponent's front or rear guards, and imprison it in your prison. So on play, soul blast 1, prison something. And it has to be on rear, not on van, obviously. But so the problem, and why I say the shield doesn't really matter, is because the rate to get units out of your prison is so efficient. Counterblast 1 to get 2 units out of prison is so. Here's my problem with Brand. Here's my problem with the prison archetype in Brandgate. It's that you have kind of a deck that gains an amount of temporary advantage by imprisoning your opponent's stuff, right? Because you pay a cost to imprison it, and your opponent pays typically a cheaper cost to get it out. So you're bleeding resources in that exchange. Because Counterblast 1, Draw 2 is still pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you're kind of losing out of resources in that exchange. Like, you're losing, like, a Soul Blast here and there. But you're not really gaining much out of that, temporary advantage. So, normally in like, other card games, something you call a tempo deck is a deck that basically will cost itself resources to gain a temporary advantage, so that they can eventually, solve the game, like do something more like try to kill you before it matters, or, basically try to get to something before you can do something about it.
Link Joker, like the Chaos variant of like locking stuff, it was a good example of this.
Like cards like Neospatian Grand Mole, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to use my normal summon to bounce your guy.
Yeah, but then, maybe it's an extra deck monster that you spent resources on, or whatever.
Yeah. Right. Something dumb like that, right? But or Compulse in ye olden days, right? So you just don't gain enough with that temporary advantage in order for it to make it worth it. And the shield is cool, but if your opponent chooses to get if you have 3 cards in prison and your opponent's I'm going to counterblast 2, get 2 out, this card no longer has an ability.
They honestly should have made that second effect when placed on rear or guard circle. Because then it's a disruptive tool. And the opponent can still get their stuff out. It's not like...
Well, yeah, but you don't want to have it imprisoning things during the attack step. For obvious reasons.
Why? Because it messes with, like,
because it's
the balance?
denial.
Yeah. Because it's denial Griffin.
Anyway.
Eventually it's going to happen. I bet there's going to be one.
I just think the way the prison deck is structured, the whole, like, I think the prison deck is the worst deck of all 10.
Interesting.
And I think the design is just ultimately flawed.
Not sure I agree with that. I do think, like, they get... Because of Snow's triple drive, I think they do unlock more advantage from imprisoning things. I think their problem is the same problem a lot of control decks have had over the year, or tempo decks, I guess, which is that not losing is not the same as winning. Like, right now, all they get are, like, extra cards in hand and very small amounts of power. Not enough to actually win games, so... You know, because they don't have a finisher. You can draw the cards you want. Eventually, you'll probably just run out.
Mm-hmm.
I think what Brankgate needed out of this triple R really was just bigger like either Imprison from hand would be really nice. Because there are already units with resist or with that can't be targeted.
Yeah.
Which is a huge problem. You have the they have the 10k in Dark States, which is obviously just relevant enough to be annoying, and then you have Trickstar.
In Trickstar's case, though, I think it needed to have that to not...
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's fine in Trickstar's case. I just think, like, printing it this early is kind of whack with... Like, I don't even know if Dark States is going to play that card, because it might not just fucking matter.
It might not... It's probably
Bruce
not going to
doesn't counterblast enough to give a shit.
Right.
Borrow Magnus, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. But, I don't know. I don't see it.
I think if imprisoning from hand would be kind of cool, but you also run into that balance problem that Nubatama had in early Vanguard.
I mean, not as much because you can get them back.
That's true. You can get them back. That's what they ended up doing, was that it was a temporary thing. Was you bind it face down, then you get it back at the end or whatever. I love the art on this thing, but. Yeah, there's got to be some sort of, like, more tempo besides just, you get an extra drive check for all of the effort you're putting in.
I mean, honestly, if this thing even just gained, like, 10k with power, not 10k shield, it would have made a huge difference in just, like, actually having some sort of pressure outside of Persona riding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because being 20k and then with any booster 28k, that's 2 cards at least, yeah.
I think Snow does draw a good amount of cards to survive, just can't actually end the game. What are you supposed to do with that?
Mm-hmm. What if it was 5k and a crit instead of the shield?
That'd be much better.
Yeah, that would be much better, although compared to Eden, it would not have the advantage of being restood.
Yeah.
Well, it only gets a crit after it's restood, so.
Yeah. Well, that's still, like, a lot of potential pressure compared to just one attack with a crit.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Well, you can only do so much. And again, pilot episode.
Like,
Can we talk about good cards?
Yeah, sure. But yeah, I don't think Prison is necessarily the worst, but we'll get to that after we talk about the good cards.
I am going to be so sad by the end of this episode.
Yeah, you are.
Grand Heavenly Sword Alden. So, grade 3, Persona Ride, 13k. When this is placed on Rearguard Circle, Counterblast 2, Soul Blast 1. Choose a card from your hand, call it. If you call it a grade 3, draw 2. And then, when it attacks, if you have 3 or more grade 3 units, it gets plus 5,000 until end of turn, and it counts itself. Also, it's not once per turn.
It also counts your Vanguard.
Yes, it does.
This card is actually absurd.
Yes, it is.
This is mind-bogglingly good.
This card does everything. Like, it
It's
draws
a pot of
cards.
greed.
It is a massive beater.
it's 18k on itself. If you have a 10k booster, it's 28 with restand from Bastion 38.
Yeah. Also, like,
Or
Bastion gives 2k, so it's actually 20.
28, and then you restand with Bastion, and then it's freaking then it's 33.
Yeah. No, you could with Bastion on your first turn, even without Persona riding, you can have two 35k swings with this card.
It's so sick.
Ew.
It is absolutely ridiculous how strong this card is.
So you guys got tempo better than the tempo deck got tempo.
Yeah, pretty much.
Bastion is an insane deck. And, like, the big weakness of Bastion, at least, like, when we were seeing out of the TD, was like, oh, okay, so it's going to have, like, shield problems, right? Which is, like, almost true. But, like, there's random grade 3s with shield in here. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. And, like, you draw so many cards, you'll probably have a million triggers in your hand anyways.
Yeah. I think this card is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, this card is ridiculous, how strong it is.
Every line of text on that card is good.
I feel so bad. Like, I was the one that did the roundup for this thing, and we didn't really have a lot of reveals yet, so I was like, this looks like a resource drain. And apologies to our YouTube channel. So,
okay,
yeah.
Atlas is not testing Bastion.
It's not even just that. I just didn't have that much information, you know?
Yeah. I mean, even without that much information, like, the fact that the 5k isn't once per turn, and, you know, compared to Hour of Holy Judgment, this doesn't lose you any cards, because you were probably going to call the grade 3 you called with his skill anyways. So it's just a straight plus.
Yeah.
Like, this card is ridiculous for everything that it does.
Indeed.
But, you know, moving on to significantly less ridiculous.
I was gonna say.
Hexa-Orb Sorceress. Also a great... This is our alternate boss, so this is also a grade 3. And all of them have Persona rides, so I'm gonna stop reading that part.
I know.
Auto Vanguard Circle. When your drive check reveals a trigger unit, choose one of your rear guards, give it power plus 10,000 until end of turn, so just double trigger power.
Mm-hmm.
And then act once per turn. If you Persona Road this turn, you can Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. Reveal a critical or front trigger from your hand, put it on top of your deck, and it gets drive plus 1 until end of turn.
Alright.
This card is just... I feel like of all of the bosses that we've seen so far, this is probably the one that's gonna die the fastest. Like, the fact that the more impactful skill is locked completely behind Persona riding, compared to, like, Magnolia, where you still get half of the skill at least, I think is going to kill this card in the long term, because the deck has a bunch of other problems, too, with, like, getting resources, but just fundamentally having to find more copies of this card with not a ton of advantage, especially right now, is absolutely terrible. So it was already kind of a gamble deck to begin with, because you will probably need multiple triggers even on your Persona Ride turn to make enough of an impact, but then you have to gamble even more just finding a copy of it, so there's just so much wrong with this card. I kinda hate it.
Here's how you fix this card. For that first effect, have you draw a card and give something 10k. It's not that broken, believe me. Second, and for the second thing, it should be, instead of just put a thing on top and you get an extra drive, draw 2 cards and then put a card on top of your deck.
That's the thing is, I don't... I feel that might go a bit too far, because, like, we did see with the beginning of V-Era that OTT was very strong because it could gain a bunch of advantage while decks were still really slow, so I don't necessarily have a problem with how the skills are structured. I have a problem with you only do things when you Persona Ride, so if you don't, your deck just doesn't function.
Yeah, it's definitely a turn. So it's a turn 4 deck, and you can argue whether it's more or less powerful than Bruce. I think, like, not only do you need to find a Persona Ride, you also need to find a crit, which is less of a problem because you can play lots of those. But like, and you need to find enough appropriate regards to make it valuable. I think Hex Orb is actually, I think it's better than cards like Eugene in its current state. I think it's better than cards like Magnolia, and I think I even think it's better than the Prism deck personally. I do think it is a slow turn 4 deck, but I do think it's turn 4 if you find a crit and another Hex Orb is very, very powerful.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, I feel like even with the Persona ride, I want multiple triggers for the turn 4 to actually feel good.
That could be fair.
I don't know. Like, when I was testing it, there were many times where I didn't Persona ride, and this deck felt absolutely terrible.
Oh yeah, if you miss Persona ride, the deck's unplayable.
And that even, like, when the deck is functioning the way I wanted to, there were times where I felt like, because I didn't see enough triggers, that the deck didn't really function that well either, so, I don't know, it just feels like a massive gamble deck with a lot of fundamental problems.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm personally ranking this as the worst boss, not just because of, like, its current performance, but I also think that in order to fix a lot of those flaws, they would need so much, you might as well just make a new boss.
Interesting. Alright, interesting.
Anything else to add before I
got nothing else on that one.
Nope.
Alright, so, we got, for Stoicheia, Mysterious Rain Spiritualist Zorga. So 13k. On Van, when you would play a normal order, you can bind a normal order with a different name from your drop zone and Alchemagic, which means you combine the costs and add the effects to the back.
Whatever that means.
So
at the end.
You just double up.
Yeah.
And then also acts on Van once per turn. You can counterblast one, choose a card from your drop zone, call it to rear. So, this thing is the better of the two Stoicheia decks from what I hear from, I don't know, everybody.
Yep.
Because getting a plus every turn is good. Having to counterblast for it seems like a bit of a problem because a lot of your orders cost stuff.
Yep.
But
I don't think it's that big a deal. Most of them cost soul.
A couple of them.
Yeah, but the one you want to spam costs a counterblast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think what's powerful about Zorga is that the columns he makes are absolutely gigantic.
Yes. It's these.
And the thing holding him back is that he has 3 attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sometimes inconsistent. Like, there's sometimes where you just like can't find the orders you need, or don't find enough of them, or some other nonsense.
And like, the deck building is kind of weird because you do need a bunch of orders in the deck, so I feel like there's a lot going on with this deck that makes it difficult to play.
Yeah, but I think the deck is actually quite good. I think like it is on the cusp of being like up there with things like Bruce, Bastion by Rena.
I think, much like his aesthetic implies, it is going to be a deck that's going to be difficult to pilot, but is incredibly rewarding for doing so correctly.
Oh, it is sick.
Grand Blue has a rich history of this deck is super annoying to play, but if you figure it out...
That's not true.
What?
It's only in G-Era.
Not just G-Era. Like, anything involving multi-attacking Grand Blue.
Well, Grand Blue didn't exist until G-Era.
Yeah, and? But when he says exists, he means the matte version of exists, which is, it didn't matter until...
No. Grand Blue was in a special place of not existing prior to G-Era.
You don't gotta tell me, it was my first land.
It was like Mega Colony pre-G-Era.
Kind of. Well, because most of its
call effects... it might have been worse.
Well, because the problem was most of the call effects before G-Era were these, like, oh, you retire a unit to call a different one. And I'm like, cool, where's the plussing exactly? They're like, oh, there's not any. You just...
You like, play Cocoitus Reverse, man.
Yeah, exactly. Get chain locked into a bunch of stuff. Meanwhile, you know, by the time you get to, like, G and V era, then it starts getting into these, like, wacky multi-attack stuff where you have to take into account what you're putting in your drop zone, what you're calling out of your drop zone, what to call over, you know. I think eventually this is going to get there, but in the meantime, it's all about resource management. But those resources can get you pluses, so That's
also
good.
like this one has an extra problem of like deck building being another hurdle you'll probably have to overcome.
Yeah, this isn't really something you can net deck and be like, all right, I'm ready.
I'm staring at this next card and I just hate looking at it.
Oh.
What, Sylvan
Okay.
Horned Beast Gunosla?
Soda, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I pronounced it.
This thing
Yeah, this card, it looks horrible.
Yeah, it's like half bear, half deer, half diabetes.
And the pollen is just in the exact right place for it to have glow nipples.
Hell yeah.
Well, not even the glow nipples. It's offending me because I am like getting hella allergies this time of year. Fuck you, Sylvan Hornbeast. Oh my god. Okay, speaking of glow nipples, patreon.com/Nexus at Night. I'm not going to explain the context. So, grade 2 for Stoicheia. It's an auto effect in the back row rearguard circle. When it attacks, you can counterblast 1, choose one of your other rearguards, and it gets this unit's power until the end of the turn. So you can like buff something up.
That's what I want out of Magnolia. More counterblasting.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, like I said in the news video, this solves a problem that Magnolia has, which is that your columns can be kind of small, but then it just adds problems of, oh boy, another thing that counterblasts.
Yeah, it's
actually fucking incredible.
Oh my god, why did it have to be a counter? Like a discard would have been nice.
Yeah, I bet it would have.
Yeah. Thanks, Glow Nipples. You really took the cake. Oh my god.
I think you just really hope you don't have to use the grade 2 double R that we'll get to later to call something on your first grade 3 ride.
Oh, you know what's even worse? This is a triple R.
I know.
So that means those glow nipples are going to be shiny.
Yeah. SP glow nipples.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I think this is a card that you probably have to play and you're gonna hate doing it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Until we start getting some solid countercharging.
Alright, well, a card that nobody's gonna hate playing.
Yeah.
And the card that made me want to build Dragon Empire by itself. Virina Arcs. Grade 2 10k overdress on Trickstar. When this unit is placed on rear, if it overdress, counterblast 1, draw 2 cards, and it gets 5k until end of turn.
Counterblast 1, draw 2 is pretty good, right?
Yeah. But it's a -2 because you overdress, you see. So it's literally like, you're discarding a card, counterblast 1, draw 2.
Yeah.
Or something.
I know, I'm just...
Not that you got a Trickstar for free or something.
I'm just turning phrase, that's it.
This card is nuts. I love it. This is exactly the nonsense I want to play. Anybody who knows me and who's known me play card games knows that I love drawing cards. And this card says draw 2 for 1 counterblast, which I'm in for.
You just hard mulligan for this in your opening hand, and then you just overdress it on the Trickstar you get for free.
Yep.
Yeah, in some matchups probably. Yeah, and this is a card that once I saw this card, I knew I was in on Dragon Empire. This was the card.
It's very cool, and I gotta say you're right about like playing card games and drawing cards, like especially as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, just feels
Nobody
good.
dislikes casting Pot of Greed.
Yeah, nobody does.
Like you play that card and you're like, this feels good.
Yeah. I always love getting more cards.
Right? Yeah. Anything else to say about that their card there?
No.
This card is ridiculous.
It's a good card.
Hell yeah. So the other double R is Stealth Dragon Tensha Stead. I guess. Yeah. Look, I don't know. It has an auto on rear. When this unit, when the attack this unit boosted hits anything, you can counterblast 1, retire it. Choose one of your vanguards, search your deck for up to 1 card with the same name as that unit, reveal it, and put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck. So I assume this thing is supposed to look for Persona Ride things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is pretty neat. It's a little slow, but it costs a counterblast, which I'm not a fan of. but I guess it needs to hit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty whatever. I'm kind of like pretty whatevs on this card.
I think that's just a thing they're gonna do in early sets is on hit effects, and then those turn into post battle effects later. So,
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not like I don't need this card to be there, but it is a card that exists.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, Persona writing is very nice, especially for Eugene, where your columns are terrible. Not sure if all the hoops you have to jump through is ultimately worth it. You are losing a lot of resources for getting this card to go off.
Yeah. And then there's anybody else say about this doodly?
I honestly didn't realize that this was the double R for Dragon Empire, aside from arcs.
I got nothing either.
Alright, so there's also an over trigger, which is just drag Veda, which says when you check it, stay in your Vanguard.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked enough about over triggers. You know what our opinion is.
Can't believe that this is the weakest over trigger.
It's not. The Stokeo one is by a lot. I honestly, this is kind of spoiler, but I honestly think the Stokeo over trigger is worse than the Cray Elemental one.
Well, I wouldn't know. I don't think I ever checked an over trigger on my drive check at any point in testing.
Look, man, all I'm saying is it's 50k shield, or you can soul charge it and feel like really dumb.
But no, I take it on damage every time, and like...
Hey, that's fine. That stops their turn right there.
Yeah. But there's just so many times where I'm like, you know, I would really like to, like, drive check this just once.
Yeah, I bet you would.
The, Solemn Vanguard's video about over triggers kind of, like, summed up our frustration with, the concept of them in general being, annoying. Very annoying that they can just shut off a turn.
The people who defend it by saying things like, it's not going to happen that often. That's kind of part of the problem, right? It's like you just have like this 3% of games that you just randomly lose due to no fault of anyone, due to no like fault or plays of anyone's.
Like
it's to lose.
Imagine like you're playing a game of 1-on-1 with your friend, but there's a 1 in 40 chance that during that 1-on-1 game someone will come up and knee you in the groin.
God.
Yeah. Also,
I just can't wait to lose in playing for top 8 to an over trigger. It's going to be great. It's going to make me feel really happy that over triggers exist.
Yeah. I mean, over triggers just as a concept aren't fun. There's no situation where you see an over trigger and you're like, yep, I am really enjoying myself right now. Because like, if you draw it, take it on damage, or soul charge it, then it's just like, man, I really wish I can like drive check it and get this bonkers effect off. And then if your opponent drive checks it on you, you're just like, God.
Yeah, like even winning from it isn't fun.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's like winning with a double crit. It's like kind of fun the first time because, hey, you won. And then after a while, it's like, you know, I would have liked to actually play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also there's like that tainted thing where like, you know, you get to the top 8 and you won round 3 by double critting the guy in a game you were probably going to lose otherwise. And that's always sitting on your shoulder being like, I see you, bitch. Like, it's not fun.
Hell, even if your opponent takes it on damage, it's like, oh, there goes my turn.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, we'll knee you in the groin randomly.
They're just not fun in any situation where you see them. You're either frustrated that you didn't drive check it, or you're annoyed that your opponent saw it. So yeah. Moving on to cards that are fun, we have Upward Acrobat Marjorie. So she's grade 3, 13k. Auto rearguard circle once per turn. When this unit attacks, if you're in Final Rush, you can put another rearguard into your soul, draw a card, soul charge 1, and it gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn.
God, what a card.
I like her.
I really like this card.
Yeah, it's sick.
The art's
good
cool.
Good finishing attack on your Persona Ride turn. Just absolutely massive.
Like, it nets you a lot of soul, so you don't have to play Brother's Soul, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
And you can like attack with it boosted, then eat the booster later on, and it's large for both attacks.
Mm-hmm.
This card's just great. And it's got nice art.
Yeah. It's Pale Moon-esque. I'm always
sweet.
a fan of that.
This card's sick.
Yeah.
Great card, A+.
Yep. Anything else anyone has to say about that?
Nope.
Alright, we have Steam Battler Gunnerum. What a name. This one's a grade 1 8K. When placed on rearguard circle, so charge 1. And then rearguard act once per turn, you can Soul Blast 3, draw a card.
Who's this for?
Probably Bruce. I think you can... I think if you're really tight about your soul management, you could probably afford to use it once or twice.
I mean, you're probably just using it for the soul charge part, right?
Oh, Borrow Magnus. Yeah, Borrow Magnus, you have to play this reluctantly to get soul.
God.
My God.
Yeah, I think you can make this work in Bruce.
I don't even know who this is for, honestly. This card just feels like it's like for a different deck that's neither of the two that were printed.
Yeah. My favorite thing about this card's art is that I know it's like a machine gun type thing that he's got, but it looks like a giant lipstick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He's like, you're an autumn.
And then we have the Overtrigger. We have talked so much about this.
Yeah, in particular.
This is the one you want to check early in the game as possible so that you have crit pressure all the time. And it's going to feel really bad if you see it.
Checks out.
Yep. It got into... What was it? Was it the semifinals or the finals of the March Madness bracket?
I don't remember.
Semifinals, because it lost to the Cater one. And then Cater lost to Brandgate. Yeah. So.
Brandgate one is sick. But unfortunately it's Brandgate. And speaking of Brandgate...
Yeah, exactly.
We have Hyperspeed Robo, Shovel Stud. Whatever these names are. Act on rear, counterblast 1, soul blast 1, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and imprison in your prison. If 3 or more cards are in your imprisoned, you draw a card.
Okay, see, that's advantage at least.
Yeah, so you can go like counterblast 2, soul blast 2, activate, Seraph Snow, activate this guy, draw a card, drive +1.
Plus 10k power on Snow, too.
Assuming you have 3 targets.
Yeah, which... You probably will, like, Ride Chain, imprisons 1 from hand, so... I think you can consistently imprison 3 every turn to maintain your advantage. The problem is, like, you don't have a way to win.
Right.
You just have a lot of ways to not lose.
So, yeah, this card's fine. The cost kind of gets up there, but... That's why we have this other card, Detonation Mutant Bobble Mine.
Looks like
it. It's an auto on. It's a grade 1, an auto on rearguard. At the end of the battle, this unit boosted. If your order zone has a set order, either a prison or a dark knight, you can put this into your soul and countercharge 1. So it kind of refunds the cost of either of the cards we just mentioned.
Yeah. And helps Orphis with its horrible resource problems.
I like this card. I like that the kaijus are kind of back.
Yeah, me too. I like the kaijus in Dimension Police.
Like a kaiju made out of infrared scopes.
Because this works in both prison and Orphis, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because the prison is an order.
Right.
Yeah. So...
That's just Brandgate's thing, is set orders.
But, like, I like that they found a way to make this card relevant for both decks, which we haven't really seen in this set. Otherwise, most of the time it's just been like either incidental or not related at all. This one looks like it was made for both.
And then there's the Brandgate Overtrigger, which we already all said was the best one.
It's the best one. Yeah.
It's unfortunate that it's in Brandgate, but who cares because it's an Overtrigger.
Yeah. You're either going to win or gain such a significant advantage that the game is very hard to lose.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Even the worst Overtrigger is nutty.
Yeah. Alright, so let's just move on to Keter Sanctuary then.
Yeah.
Knight of War damage Faucid.
That is
So
a
it is a
sweet
great-
name. It's war
It
damage.
is a grade 3 because Bastion.
Yeah.
And continuous, it cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects, Rip Prison. And then when this unit's attack hits, countercharge Soul Charge 1.
God, why?
Hey, you know what Bastion needed? Ways to manage its resource costs.
Why does it have resist?
Who knows? Why does Bastion just get all the nice things?
I don't know. Like, because there's still that one card designer guy from the first team
When
who made
I
it to
was
the
when this
second
card
team.
was revealed, all I could do was roll my eyes.
Like,
I was
look,
like, come on.
hey, look, another thing that makes Bastion more consistent.
It was so stupid.
It doesn't even matter that it's a non-hit, because you can just restand it with Bastion and try again.
Yeah.
Eater Sanctuary is just so ridiculous.
So to get rid of this thing, which is going to be a massive like pain in your ass as the opponent, you either have to start attacking it, which or you have to have like non-targeting removal, which
We don't have right now.
Exactly.
The smashing ground target.
Does Pot of Greed target? No.
Yeah. Targets me.
And then we have a much worse card, Painkiller Angel. It's a grade 1. So at the end of the battle, it boosted Soul Blast 1, retire it, draw a card. I really wish it didn't retire itself. I would love to just draw cards consequence free for Hexa Orb.
Yeah, this card's fine. It's whatever. It's mostly bad. I don't care, honestly.
Yeah.
This card's bad.
What if it put itself in Soul, so it was like a wash on that end?
Yeah, that'd be neat. I think both decks need Soul. Yeah, if it put itself into Soul, that'd be fine.
I also still don't think it's good.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
I
just
feel
hilarious.
like I would reluctantly play it in Hexa Orb to dig deeper into the deck for Persona rides, and that's about it. I think Bastion, you just don't play grade 1s.
Because you can. Because,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good time.
Because that's a thing.
Yeah.
And then the Overtrigger is ridiculous, like all of them are.
Mm-hmm.
I love casually gaining 6 cards in a turn.
Alright, so for Stoicheo, we have Inheritance Maiden Hendrina. It's grade 2. Auto, when it's placed on rear, you may discard 3 cards from the top of your deck. So you can try and kickstart that the drop zone for the Alchemagic stuff. And then also act on rear, you can retire her until the end of the turn. The next time you would play an order as Alchemagic, you do not have to pay all Soul Blast from that cost. It's quite good.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
This card's really good.
This card, like, single-handedly fixed the initial problem with Zorga, which was like, where the hell are you getting all the soul from?
Yeah, now
It's
it's
also
just you don't have
completely
to
wild
pay.
to me that this is a Zorga card and is like very bright in yellow.
And Neo
Yeah,
Nectar,
right?
yes.
Ocean Man is very purple and gloomy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a sitcom, you know. One's purple and gloomy, the other's yellow and bright. When you get them together, hold on to your sides.
Please stop.
Then we have Spurring Maiden Alania, which, again, Neo Nectar looking card. It's a grade 2, 10k. When placed on rear from hand, you counterblast, soul blast, choose a grade 2 or less from your drop, call it to rear, and it gets plus 5k until end of turn.
On the other hand, this card I would not play
For Zorga?
for anything. Well, definitely not for Zorga.
Once again, you probably have to play it in Magnolia because,
Board.
yeah.
Yeah. Zorga is gonna not do that because Zorga has orders to play
Mm-hmm.
over this shit.
Yeah, definitely.
This card is, like, nice for getting back cards you lost to the ride deck, and that's about it.
Mhm.
Which is actually a problem for Magnolia, because you don't draw cards.
Mm-hmm. So that's going to be like an 8-draw deck, assuming that's a thing. And
That is definitely a thing. That is probably something I'm going to have to test now.
because they revealed that like you get a second set of front crit draw, yeah. And then of course there is
Rest in peace, front triggers.
Yep. Then there is the over trigger, which once it whatever. I'm done with this joke.
It is the worst one. That's all you need to know.
It is the worst one, but it's
It
still
might
nuts.
be worse than the Cray Elemental one.
Yeah.
For Zorga, probably. For Magnolia, actually, honestly, still yes, because the Cray Elemental. Because you can give 100 million power to Gnozla and have 3 things with 100 million power.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
It's
actually
honestly
might
hilarious.
be worse than the Cray Elemental one for Sewage.
God.
God damn it.
Because, like,
Yeah.
well, because the problem with, what's it called? With Magnolia is the field isn't, like, normal for most decks, and then the Zorga one, the field is more normal, but, like, it's not really doing all that much pressure-wise. You're like, oh.
Right.
So, it's, you're caught between a rock and a suck place. Now, we've come to the end of the double R's, which means we are now into any commons or rares that interest us. All of the ones that I've picked out are orders.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
Well, yeah.
I think
Well,
there's
we
one
can bring
for
up
Keter
the
that matters, right?
Not sure. I mean, I know that Keter has a whole bunch of grade 3s that fix even more problems.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to find it and I can't. I'm dumb.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
going to
there's
say go on.
no, not. It's not Solaria. Where's the grade 3 Angel Lady?
Here, I got mine pulled up. I'll just go first.
All right, you
okay.
go first.
So there's the Cursed Soul Riddles and Agony. It's a grade 3 order, normal order. So you play this with Soul Blast 2. Now, if you had the Flower Lady, that means you don't pay anything. You look at 4 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 unit card from among them, call it to rear, and discard the rest. If it is a part of Alchemagic, call up to 2 cards on rear instead of 1, and all the units called with this order get plus 5k till end of turn. So this is
Which order was that? Sorry.
the Cursed Soul Riddles and Agony. This is basically Enchanting Fitting Room meets, Gold Paladin.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think all of the orders for Zorga are pretty good.
oh yeah, like Grief, Despair, and Rejection, which is not my nickname in high school, contrary to popular belief. So another grade 3, you play it with Counterblast 1. If your Vanguard is Zorga, choose 3 of your units, and they get plus 10k till end of turn.
Mm-hmm.
This is the single most important order in Zorga, in my opinion.
Because it's Counterblast and not a Soul Blast? Or
Not only that, but it also gives 30k power.
yeah,
Yes.
you can do.
So what you do is you can give like 10k to a unit, 10k to a booster, probably a fucking Mantis guy, who's given plus 5k because you call him that turn, and plus 10k to the other column.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you have these huge side columns.
Yeah, because you're either doing like a Persona Ride type thing, or you're doing like an L shape, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the last one I picked out was a Spiritual Body Condensation. Sation. This one's a grade 1 order, which means you can play this turn 1 if you like. You Soul Blast. You play with the Soul Blast. Choose a card with grade equal or less than your Vanguard from your drop. Call it to rear, and it gets plus 5k. So, not super crazy, but it's better than What's-Her-Face with the whip.
Yeah. Although, I will say that, like, the grade 2 is a unit on board where this is a card trade. That doesn't matter very much for Zorga because you can Alchemagic with it, I feel like. You're already behind an advantage with Magnolia anyways. You're probably better off with the grade 2 and being able to keep a unit on your board.
You would rather have the legs than the cheaper cost?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. It really feels bad reading all this.
Yeah, this is another like super important order for this deck too.
Mm-hmm.
Just because.
Although I
see, that's the thing. Is like all the orders are important.
Yeah, there's a lot of very good orders for Stoicheia, and because it's all order based for the for what's his name?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you have kind of all the options to play. Like, is that the last order you're going to read?
That's the last order. I have unit stuff, but I'm going to let you guys take a turn and then come back.
All right.
Well, I don't have very much, but I do think you missed a couple orders for Stoicheia that I think are notable.
Okay.
I think Tearing Malice is one. It's not a card you're going to play very many of, but you might play like one of it.
It's the retire 2 rear guards, draw a card, put this card to your soul, and countercharge 1. It is a pretty heavy cost, but it does give back resources. And for cards that you might not, you might be kind of whatever on otherwise. The other card that I think is really important that you didn't talk about was actually a Blitz order, called Ghost Chase, which is a grade 2 Blitz order. It's a common. You choose one of your units, and that card gets power plus 5, and it gets power plus 5,000. Then you choose one of your rear guards that is not being attacked and return it to your hand.
That's cool.
So
yeah. I really like this order. It's super neat, and it gets back your on-play skills.
Yeah, I just think that's kind of a small thing that you missed. I think Ghost Chase is probably more important than the other one. Just because that's a very unique effect to be able to return one of your rear guards that is not being attacked to your hand.
Well, it's not even just that. It could be even in something like Magnolia, where you kind of drop your hand for offense, you can bounce something back in the back row maybe, and then use that for guard if you have to. Like, there's a lot of uses for this. And you're right, I did miss it. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. No, that's why I wanted to bring it up since you were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So while we're on the order thing, can I go ahead and read my the dumb orders for Orfist?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, so there's a grade 2 order, Hollowing Moonlit Night, which is a wolf. I almost said howling because it's a wolf staring at a red moon.
Right.
Anyway, it's a set order. You play with Soul Blast 1, and when it's placed in the order zone, you draw a card, and then basically if you have 2 cards, you get Abyssal Dark Knight. If you have 1 card, it's Dark Knight. It doesn't really do much. And the other one is a grade 3 one that you still play it with Soul Blast 1, but it's when it's put in the order zone, you pop an opponent's rear guard. And then has the same Dark Knight effects. Like I said, these don't do very much. Is kind of the problem. Mm-hmm. But you have to kind of find 2 of them.
Yeah.
And then
the benefit of drawing a card is negated by the fact that you're playing orders in your deck. So sometimes things will just go wrong and you can't guard.
Yep. But I'm done with the words.
All right. Well. For Keter stuff, I have Actual Analyst Kokaviel. So, if your Vanguard is Apex Ruler Bastion, they get shield plus 5,000 for every 2 grade 3 units, including itself.
Ugh.
So, if you have a board full of grade 3s, which is very likely, just casual 15k shield. Because Bastion needed those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a card I'm not sure you're going to play, but it is interesting, Remission Sword Fanuel. So it is also a grade 3. Auto rear guard circle when it's attack if you have 3 or more grade 3 units, which includes itself and your Vanguard. Counterblast 2, and this unit gets critical +1 until end of turn. I don't even know if you're going to play this because it kind of makes small numbers, but it is a crit.
Fair. Any other ones?
I'm not sure if you play the order, but there is Shining Sword of Judgment that lets you Soul Blast a grade 3, choose one of your opponent's rear guard, and your opponent puts all rear guards in the same column as that rear guard. Hey, look, non-targeting removal.
Oh, that's good.
This is technically true. Not that you're probably not playing it.
Probably not playing it.
Is that the last card you had?
Yeah, that's the last one I had.
Okay, there's one more I wanted to read, and that's Divine Sister Lepisto.
Oh, you're right.
This card's hilarious. It could be. You can really try to cheese the restand in Bastion.
Oh yes.
It is a grade 3. It doesn't need Hexorb, but the cost is very high.
Yes, it is, but it is kind of worth it if you have it.
It is very meme.
Why the hell not?
It is not probably. It's probably not the best build of Bastion, but it is the most hilarious build of Bastion.
I'm sure there's gonna be a more aggressive versus less aggressive build for.
But there's gonna be a better one, and that's the one everyone should be playing.
Yeah. Just we'll find out. Dun, dun, dun.
All right. You got some more cards, buddy?
I got a couple, but.
Did we actually read what Lepisto did, though?
Oh, my bad. So it says that whenever your so it's a grade 3. Whenever your Vanguard checks a trigger unit, you can counterblast 2, restand it, and it gets plus 5,000 power.
Yep. So you just dump this with Alden, and you just have a board that will very likely restand at least one thing, occasionally both, which will be hilarious.
But it is Counterblast 2, and you already have lots of things to Counterblast 2 with in that deck, so... Kind of whatevs.
Doesn't mean you're going to draw them all at once.
There is the other Divine Sister. I'm trying to find it. Divine Sister Fatiada is a grade 1, unfortunately, so that does make your deck less consistent. But when your drive check reveals a trigger, you can Soul Blast 2, countercharge 1.
Though Bastion decks were playing a grade 1, though, right? Not that I remember which one that was.
I think they might be testing this one, because none of the other grade 1s are particularly worth it.
No, I think it was one of the TD grade 1s.
Was it just the Doggo that gained 5k? Because that's the only one I can think of.
Oh, the giant booster? Yeah, because it hits numbers or something.
I mean, I would just play Fort in that case, because it also gets boost. Or not Fort, Rooks. The grade 2.
Oh, that might be it.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like a 15k booster.
Oh, that's it then. Yeah. Because the 15 plus, 23 or whatever is pretty good. Yeah.
When I was first testing it, I had 4 copies of Rooks.
Yeah. No, I just didn't remember which idiot it was. It looks like an old Gold Paladin grade 1. Like the art, I mean.
Yeah, that's the Doggo where you Soul Blast 2 and it gains 5k and it's a 13k booster. Rooks is the grade 2 where if you have 3 or more grade 3 units, it gets boost and plus 5k.
Yep, that's the one right there. Yeah, so they always play 4 of that card because that card's a huge booster.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I like the deck with 4 Rooks. I might go with that over the Divine Sister one.
Fair enough.
Let's see. I got 3 more cards.
All right.
Okay.
So,
I believe you.
Rancor Chain for Stoichia 8k grade 1. So act on Van, you Soul Blast 1, draw 2, choose an order card from your hand and discard. If you did not discard, you discard 2 cards instead. So it helps you cycle and set up Alchemagic on that first turn. And then also on rare, if you played an order, 10k booster for the turn. So
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Not bad. I got Proto Bulb Dragon for Dark States. On rear 8k grade 1, when it attacks or boosts, if you are in Final Rush, you counterblast 1, put another rear guard into your soul, choose a card from your soul, and put it into your hand. So, kind of like, what's her name from earlier.
Yeah. This card is pretty neat.
Yeah.
It's a way of recycling Fist Colossus if you decide to play that.
Grab that over trigger you soul charged.
I know. You can, technically. And then Crawl You Insects, which fucking dumbest name for an order, but grade 3, you counterblast a plate, you get a soul charge, choose one of your units, gets plus 10k till end of turn for every 5 cards in your soul. And then if you have 10 or more in soul after doing that, you draw a card.
This card might be unplayable because you can only play 1 order a turn, and my consistent experience was I have this and Brother Soul, and I would much rather have Brother Soul in that situation because it says Soul Charge 2.
Oh, really? Damn.
God, I keep forgetting you can only play 1 order for a turn.
Yeah, and also it's a counterblast, and the deck already counterblasts quite a bit because you need to counterblast for Borrow Magnus' skill, and you probably counterblasted for Electro Spartan, so the only soul charging you have is if you already have 10 soul.
Alright, well, there's one more card, because Atlas didn't read the card that I thought he would.
Oh my god.
Collusion Mutant Admantis.
The one that just gives 5k on play?
Yeah,
yes.
It's on play.
That card is actually very important in both decks because it's big.
That card is on place from anywhere, dum-dum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and?
You fish it out with your calling from drop, or you bounce it to your hand with Ghost Chase, or you call it from your hand.
Yeah, like repeatedly, it's free power.
Yeah. Like, even in Magnolia, you need this because that's the only way you're gonna break 28k on a column.
Mm-hmm.
God, this card's sick.
It's weird that like this is so interesting, and it's like an on-play Give Something 5K.
Yeah.
So, but it's like it's the environment around it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever
This
watched?
card is like like in my testing, this card is honestly like the linchpin of Magnolia being like medium minus.
Wow.
Because this is the only way I can get like 2 large columns on my first grade 3 ride. Otherwise, I have nothing.
And then
it is playing the most okay decks.
It's like what's it called? The like Meta Colony is like, oh, I'm the good card in the deck who's fucking complaining about Meta Colony now, bitch. Like,
I feel like I missed something. Oh, we did.
And you're like the thing about it's the environment. Have you guys ever watched Solar Opposites on Hulu?
No.
So it's a show by Justin Roiland, and it's about these aliens living on Earth. And one of the aliens has a shrink ray, and he keeps shrinking down people on Earth who piss him off, and he puts them in this little terrarium in his wall. And there's an entire subplot of just the humans trying to survive, and like they're the size of an acorn, and they're making houses out of like nerds boxes and stuff. So it's kind of like that, where because you're tiny, everything around you is huge.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sorry. What was the last card?
Oh no, it was just right chain stuff. We've already talked about most. So the right chains are all pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Zorga right chain is especially very good. So
Yes, it is.
But I do recommend checking out Zorga. I think the deck's super cool.
Yeah.
It's I think it's it's pretty fun, and then the orders are really sweet.
Yeah. I want to mention Selfish Engraver for Dark States, which is a grade 2. On hit, Soul Charge 1. At the end of battle attack, if you have 10 or more soul, put into your soul countercharge 1. You probably need this in Borrow Magnus.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that girl from Persona 5 the Royal?
Yeah, kind of. I just like that there's like a snake in the background that looks like it's about to eat the moon.
I just want to upset some Persona fan somewhere. I'm sorry.
Oh, right, of course. So, I guess we asked what we ask every set review, which is who wins, who loses.
Bastion by a mile.
I think I don't think it's by a mile. I think Keter Sanctuary wins quite a bit. I think Dragon Empire is kind of next rolling up, and I think those are really the two that are that kind of stand out to me in the set. Is Keter and specifically the Nirvana arc of Dragon Empire.
Because it seems like Keter has the best deck and the worst deck.
I don't even think Hexorb is the worst deck. Is my point.
You don't think what is the worst deck? Sorry.
I don't think Hexorb is the worst deck.
Yeah, I kind of disagree, but like, I actually think Eugene is the worst deck coming out of this. I just think Hexorb is pretty low.
I think it's Eugene, Magnolia are like the worst two.
Not 100% sure I agree. I've been playing with Magnolia.
I think the fact that Magnolia needs Counterblast 2 to play the game is pretty bad.
Like, I honestly think Magnolia might have a higher ceiling than Orfist.
Yeah.
That one also needs
how often is that ceiling achievable?
Moderately consistently. Like, I started playing the TD card that gains 5k plus the Mantis that also gives 5k, so yeah, first turn I can have like 2 decently sized column. The only problem is Gunozla is tiny.
Yeah.
But like, I still think that turn is ultimately better than an Orfist first turn, because if you don't get one of your cards that gain power, your columns are only like 25. And then Magnolia also makes 4 attacks. So I think Magnolia is ever so slightly higher than Orfist, just based on my experience with the decks.
I do think Orfist is pretty bad. I think the Prism deck is pretty unplayable, actually.
Like,
I'm not even. It might have some good matchups here and there. Like, it's probably pretty good against like things like Magnolia, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the only thing saving Prison right now is that it plays well into Magnolia.
But like, if nobody's playing Magnolia, there's no reason to play Prison.
And like the decks that you're worried about are probably Bastion and Dragon Empire, who are pretty resilient to Prison to begin with.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't really see. I think Prison is kind of fundamentally flawed, at least in its current iteration. And I think that's kind of the big loser is Brent Gate out of the set.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I think Zorga got enough cards to make him a pretty good contender, and I don't think Magnolia is quite as bad as other people are saying, so I feel like Stoichea managed to get itself just into the range of playable.
Yeah, I think Zorga is quite good. I think so. 4 out of the 5 nations have, I think, what are good decks.
Yeah.
And Brankgate just lacks that.
Yep.
So Brankgate falls short here. The other 4 nations all have a playable deck. It sucks that Brankgate has a lot of people who really like that character. I think she's pretty annoying, but that's just me. And Donji's the best. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. And Bruce is a pretty sweet deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And
so I'll be building Bruce Dragon Empire or Bruce Nirvana, maybe something else.
I'm doing Mag and
I'm going
Bruce.
in on Keter, even though I think Hexa Orb is awful. I still like playing the deck and like Bruce.
Might build Bastion because I'll only need 4 Alden.
Right. It's probably gonna be Bruce Mag, and I'm gonna sit on Baramagnus.
Bastion's so cheap if you're buying the TD though.
Bastion.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your boss thing's in the TD. Any deck that like had a good TD boss, you're like, it's gonna be so much easier just building that from the ground up.
I say that now and watch Alden be like $30 somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, because they're gonna
I'm
be
kind of
like
hoping people think Bastion is bad because of how slow it is.
Makes me hype up Hex Orb just so people will like look at it that way.
Maybe. I mean,
even though I won't do that because that would be lying.
We forget that we have hundreds of listeners every week, and some people are like, listening. So.
Yeah.
So you're saying I should have followed through? My bad.
Everyone, go hype up Magnolia, please.
Go hype up Magnolia, Eugene, Hexa Orb, and Orphis.
I think a lot of people are gonna play Zorga just because he's hot, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got that goth energy the Ocean Man does.
Ocean Man.
Those abs. I mean, like, I have to do another tier list with him and Altmile and all them. So.
Alex, every time the song Ocean Man is brought up, I'd say, "Oh, is that the song from the SpongeBob movie?"
Yeah.
Every single time, that's what I say.
Yeah. How does that work out for you?
It usually makes them kind of mad.
Yeah, understandable. Master Troll, Matt Barber. So, yeah, thanks everybody for listening to A Nexus at Night. We have a Patreon if you want to support the show, patreon.com/Nexus at Night. Thanks to our $10 patrons, Darren and Cole. If you donate $5 or more a month, you get access to a whole-ass bonus show every week, plus early access to our YouTube videos and a whole bunch of other goodies. And then, where can people find you guys out there?
Find me on Twitter at Wiggums2Gs2Zs.
Find me at Plasma Eclipse.
He wants to play Monster Hunter so bad. He like took a second.
I'm playing in bed right now, dude.
Okay, you can find me
I'm at the Rampage tutorial, and I'm just like, I cannot be bothered right now.
Oh, you don't like Bloons Tower Defense? I don't think Rampage is that bad, except when like the last monster just goes straight for the gate and like ignores everything. It's annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Atlas Novak, or find the show at Nexus at Night in the same places. So until next time, I was Atlas.
I'm still Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
And have a good night, everybody.